Hello YouTube, I'm back with part 3 of the Robot Wars Minibots toy review, and I'm starting with Really Big Cheese. I mean, who can forget Really Big Cheese throwing an axle out of the arena? So naturally it should get a Minibot, although the Minibot is a little distorted. And of course the flipper is not on the ground. Just for the record, this is not a brand new Really Big Cheese Minibot. I actually got mine on eBay, so it was already paint scratched and all that, but they managed to get the, at least one side has the Really Big Cheese logo on there. It's a sticker. Underside has nothing, which is a real shame, but I guess understandable. So I had to make room for the pullback motor, so I mean things are a little distorted here. The flipper is welded shut, as you can see here, but it does feature the tires, which are actually more decorative than anything else, because that's to run on the pullback motor. But it even has the latch that actually, with the later version, with the pullback motor, the pullback version actually uses that for the flipper. I review that. So obviously it's distorted, it's low, it's high ground clearance, so unfortunately you're gonna have some trouble getting underneath most robots, but you know, it's pretty good for what it stands. It's easily recognizable as Really Big Cheese. So, you know, overall pretty decent. The next one is, I'm gonna go with Firestorm. Pretty recognizable as Firestorm, that's for sure. It's got the antenna, and again, none of these, I didn't get any of these in mint condition for the most part, except for Chaos 2, which I got with the arena. But yeah, it's clearly recognizable as Firestorm. They even went through the painstaking process of actually putting the paint job and the nameplate, which you can just see with the antenna, which are actually rather small, but actually a lot more solid than the ones on the pullback toy. Mine actually, those snap off. These not so much. These are very solid because of course this is die-cast metal. But it suffers from the same problem as the Really Big Cheese pullback, the Minibot, and the fact that the flipper is it is a little distorted, and of course it's too high off the ground, so getting underneath is a challenge. But it's clearly recognizable as Firestorm, and actually, I think oddly enough, the pullback little motor is actually in a pretty good spot in terms of where the wheels are. You can just see. If you look carefully enough, you can see that red lump there by the pullback motor. That's, I think, where the actual wheels ended up. So they actually put those in. It's not as good, in the right spot as the dead metal pullback or Minibot, which they managed to get exactly right. But it's a minor thing. They even did it down the side too. So all the paint job, they really went through quite a bit to make sure they get this one looking at least more or less like the real thing. So good on them. Another decent Minibot here. Bring up next one is Pussycat. Quite clearly Pussycat, even though the blade's a little big, but it's a lot better. It's at least painted, unlike the pullback, which is not, and it spins. That's an added bonus. So even though the blade's a little bigger than probably it should be, at least it spins. It's actually one of the few that actually is a working weapon. But obviously, the wheels are decorative. At least they're there. I mean, they could have actually decided not to bother, but they included it. They even included the details here on the side. And then there's a little logo there at the top. I think it was probably one of the first logos I had here. Even has the name on one side. I mean, obviously they weren't going to put they weren't going to go through that much effort and put all the robots it beat, like Razor and, you know, Robo Chicken, whatever his name was. So that would have been probably on this side anyway. So they had to make some sacrifices. But, you know, they even got little nuts and bolts on the top here. So that's really cool. I mean, they even got it made at least look like, you know, the invertible version, because it's got the little spike there on top, which, you know, would have been allowing it to flip upside down and drive this way. But I mean, it's really cool. They actually got the blade working, so that's pretty awesome. I mean, it's also very. I mean, it's painted the right way too, so it's not like it's black like the pullback version. But it's pretty well done. I mean, they really did a good job on this one. I mean, I guess maybe it's a little awkward. I think because of the where they have the front wheel sit. I think it's a little lower than most pullback motors are for these toys. But yeah, another good job. Let's see what they did on Hypno Disk here. Clearly identifiable as the Series 3 Hypno Disk, although it has the Series 4 spikes on top and no self-routing mechanism, but I can understand why they don't have a whole lot of space for these. They have like a size restraint, especially because they gotta put the pullback motor in, which you can see here. But it has the disc, and then they went through the labor and actually adding little nuts and bolts on it, if you will, little mock nuts and bolts on there. They've got the teeth, the 2 teeth on the disc as well. They put the spikes on it. And it does have the Series 3 wheels. See on the side here. Oddly enough, I think it also has the wheel arches, but I don't know. Actually, yeah, they might have been a part of this. And it gets confusing after a while because you've seen so many different incarnations over time. But yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, at least the pullback motor is in the right spot. So I put my other hand here. Yeah, it's a little dark in here. It's overcast outside, so it may not be getting quite. But you can see it's pretty close. I'd say it's pretty well exactly where the rear wheels are. So at least they got that nailed down. I mean, you can see the underside doesn't really display much. It's just the extra space they had from when they created the toy. But it's pretty good. They got all the diamond plating on the side here. That's got all the details on there. So they did pretty well with this. I mean, maybe it's a little narrower, a little shorter than it should be. But again, maybe just due to the constraints of getting the toy, getting the actual robot's design down to this small. Oh, probably a couple inches. A couple inches in size, which I'm sure must have been quite difficult. They probably had to like rework it and all that, but they did well. It's clearly identifiable as Hypno Disk, as I said. So it's got the teeth on the front exactly as the disc did, with one on the top over here, and then the one on the side here. So it's cool. It would have been nice if the disc actually spun. It does not spin, but obviously that may have been a pain to do. I mean, they would have had to actually, but they actually had the room down here to do it. So in some sense, they could have done it, but again, that may have a little bit added to the cost a little bit, but it's okay. It's a minor thing, along with the self-routing arm. Would be nice to have either one of them, but you know, they did well on all 4 of these. So yeah, that's my review on these 4 Minibots. Thanks.